I have now had a chance to fully experience the new LX Overtrail, and I can tell you confidently that it is the best Land Cruiser, and I'm going to explain in today's video, as controversial as that statement might be. Now, when I say that this is the best Land Cruiser, I am speaking about this specific vehicle, how this is equipped, because if you equip an LX in any other way, it makes it so that it is inferior to the 200 series. So first thing, this is the Overtrail, which I obviously don't have the stock tires on it anymore, but the Overtrail does come with all-terrain tires stock, and I've obviously added slightly larger tires. And you can probably tell by the dust here that, yes, I actually take this thing off-road. All other LXs have active height control now, but only a center diff lock, whereas this, as you can see, has a diff lock for the front and the rear, complete game changer. And then mine is optioned with the third row delete. If you get this with the third row in the hybrid, it makes the cargo area pretty much unusable for anything that is large. And so again, you have to get this without the third row. So just to recap, LX Overtrail with the third row delete is better than the 200 series Land Cruiser. And to quickly remind all of you, I still own a 200 series Land Cruiser, Heritage Edition too. Now, not only is this better than the 200 series, it's also better than the new 250. It's also better than the Lexus GX, whether it's a 460 or the new 550. And this is even better than the 100 series that everyone loves because, well, frankly, the 200 series is better than the 100 series. There, I said it. And this 300, if equipped properly, is better than both of them. First reason, and it might seem silly, is actually the door handles. This feels more solid than the 200 series. You don't see that in post-2020 cars. Most post-2020 cars feel cheaper and more plasticky compared to their previous versions. This, however, like when you open up the door handle, feels solid. The door feels solid. Like this feels like a well-built vehicle. The active height control system, I initially was not sure about the system, but I actually prefer this over KDSS, and I even prefer this over EKDSS, because having the ability to lower the suspension, making it easier for people to get in and out of the car, and then having the ability to raise it for extra ground clearance, it is extremely handy. And I'll demonstrate at the end of the video, but it gives you tons of clearance and a really good ride. This rides just as comfortably at the top of the suspension as it does when it is lowered. I've seen a lot of people talk crap on this for the bumpers, and don't get me wrong, I wish they did a better job with sculpting the bumpers for approach and departure angles, but this thing at the top of the suspension has more clearance than a 200, 250, than even the GX. It's just slightly more from what I've experienced off-road, because there are several obstacles where I bottomed out on the GX 550 Overtrail, and this I have not. So basically you have extremely comfortable suspension, the most comfortable Land Cruiser suspension ever, and it makes it so that it's easy to use on a daily basis. You don't have to deal with a big lifted vehicle. Getting in and out of this is very easy, and then you have the clearance for off-roading. Like, it is a great system, as long as it's reliable. That's the one concern I have. Like, how long is this thing gonna last? And while we're talking about off-roading, those diff locks that I mentioned earlier and said they're a game changer, they really are a game changer. So much better than MTS. Like, I love MTS for snow and for mud, but for rock crawling and a lot of off-roading, it's so nice to have diff locks for the front and the rear. Obviously, the other new Toyotas have a rear differential lock, but this is the only one that has a front diff lock, and that makes all the difference when it comes to off-roading, especially rock crawling. And let me remind you, the 200 series only has a center diff lock with MTS. I recently reviewed an LX 570. I will say those seats are very comfortable, but these seats are as comfortable as the 570, and they're more comfortable than a 200, a 250, or even the GX, and they have massage function, which is also pretty nice. But yeah, you have tons of comfort. One downside I do have to mention, this whole area is very tight against your knee. Same thing on the other side, kind of hard to see. So that is one downside with this compared to the 200, is the kind of leg space for the driver. That is one thing they could have done a better job with. And speaking of seats, with the new 300 series, there's a little bit more space for the second row, which is great for rear passengers. And they also give you a ton of luxury with heated and ventilated seats. But the biggest thing is just a little bit more space in this second row, so it fits car seats and all that a little bit better. I'm not pushed against the steering wheel as much as in the 200 series. And again, let me remind you that that space has not come at the deficit of off-road capability. I have yet to hit either the back bumper or the front bumper with this, even though this is longer by about 6 inches compared to a 200 series. And I think it just comes down to the fact that the 200 has better angles, but this has more clearance, and so the clearance and the angles kind of make it so that they're both pretty similar when it comes to the ability to go up obstacles and not bottom out and hit against stuff. Fuel economy is something that I never thought I would say about this. So my 200 series averaged about 15 miles per gallon before I got the auxiliary fuel tank and the roof rack. Those have decreased the fuel economy, but yeah, getting 17.5, this is actually more than what I got in the 250 Land Cruiser with the same exact tires and wheels. So somehow the bigger, heavier vehicle with the bigger engine gets better fuel economy than the 4-cylinder turbo kind of sibling-ish vehicle. I think that just comes down to big vehicles need big engines. Now, obviously, if you keep your 250 completely stock, so you don't add real tires to it, you can get better fuel economy than 17.5. But if you did what I did, where I removed the air dams because you can't use those for off-roading, they get in the way too much, and then you also give it real tires, then yeah, your fuel economy ends up being worse than what you would get if you got the full-size Land Cruiser, which is kind of crazy, and it makes the 250 less appealing. The GX is not any better. The GX, I averaged about, completely stock, I got 17. So if I added the more aggressive tires, I would probably have my fuel economy drop down to like 16. So this gets better than even the GX 550. And by the way, that average contains some off-roading. You guys can see the car is dirty in the exterior, but my tires are also aired down. So I can still get over 17 miles per gallon even when I'm taking the car off-road on a regular basis. Now, I never thought I'd say this, but I actually really like this double screen setup. This is not in any other vehicle. This was basically a mistake. They built the car out with this in mind, and then Toyota corporate came in, from what I understand, and said, hey, you've got to have a new infotainment system. So they just plopped it onto the dash. I hate the look of it, but I actually love the utility because basically you just do Apple CarPlay, which is what I have connected to this, and you just keep this screen up the whole time. And then with vehicle functions like the climate, for example, right? That's all on the lower screen, where it's on the main screen with all the other Toyota product. So I don't have to like exit out of this whatsoever to be able to adjust different vehicle functions. So I actually really like it. And I really like the overall layout. Like, everything is very nicely labeled. It all makes sense where it is. The phone charging pad actually works, and it actually holds your phone in place. You don't have to worry about your phone sliding all over the place. The refrigerator center console is a nice thing, and having the opening on all of the ways, there's a latch there in the back. That also is very helpful. So if you have passengers in the back, or you have the side passenger that wants to access the center console, I've enjoyed that too. Now, you can get this in the 250. I don't think you can get this in the GX, oddly enough. But yeah, the camera rear view mirror is always a nice little feature to have. And again, I think this is the only way you can get this in the Lexuses for right now. And I did mention it earlier, but yeah, the overall build quality in this is really nice. Everything's very tight. There's no rattles. Even after tons of off-roading that I've done with this, nothing rattles or shakes or anything. And while we're up top, the heads-up display works with Apple CarPlay, works with the navigation. So if you put something in, you can actually see it in the heads-up display, which I'm not a techie person, but I actually do enjoy. I think the tech integration with this, people give Toyota crap. Everything works. I've had zero glitches with it, and it's very seamless with the integration. This is, in my opinion, one of the best infotainment systems ever. I thought I'd never say that because it's Toyota. Like, they usually suck with tech, but this new stuff, they actually did a really good job. So let's quickly take this on some dirt, and then I'm going to take it to the car wash because, yeah, it definitely needs a wash. So let's get to it. This does have a smaller fuel tank compared to the 200 series. I average about 300 miles of range with this. That matches the 200 series because this gets better fuel economy. So even though this has a smaller fuel tank, the fuel range is about the same, and the hybrid makes it so that I actually get more range with this off-road compared to the 200 because this is in EV mode most of the time off-road, believe it or not. So fuel's not as much of an issue as I thought it would be. Fun before we get the car cleaned up, right? I've seen a lot of people on forums and just in general say that, oh, well, you know, it's a shame that Toyota/Lexus gave a triple lock setup to a vehicle you can't really take off-road. And it's like, well, again, I'm in agreement with all of you, at least for the US market, right? Because the rest of the world gets the GR Land Cruiser, which is triple locked and has better bumpers for approach, departure, and everything. But this thing is more than good enough. Again, I have not hit the front or the rear bumper at all, and I have taken this through difficult terrain, right? I have taken it through stuff that is more than what 99% of people are ever going to take their Lexus, or even if we did have a Land Cruiser here in the US market, you know, the 300 series with the Toyota badge, this is more than most people would take that through too. What I've done with this, and I've had zero clearance issues. I also love how easy it is to get into four-wheel drive low with these. Boom, it's in four-wheel drive low, it's going to H2, and the MTS system is obviously really good. Another thing I've seen people complain about off-road is the side steps. I haven't had an issue with those either. Again, this has enough ground clearance. The breakover angle's good enough. I think it's like 24 degrees for the breakover. Like, just giving you guys an idea, and I might be wrong in the number, but just give you guys an idea, that's a similar breakover angle to like a Wrangler, I think. So it's not like this thing is, you know, not trying when it comes to the angles and everything. Again, it's not ideal. It would be better if this had better bumpers and everything. But this is a rock garden right here. This is what I want to close the video off with. And not only is this incredibly comfortable through this rock garden, right? I mean, like, I can get a massage right now, and terrain like this, like most vehicles, it's like bump, 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 bump. The suspension soaks this up so well. You are going to get some movement, right? You are still ultimately rock crawling, but the capability this thing has is incredible. Now, I'm not going to do the whole climb situation here. I already did that in a video. If you guys want to see that, go watch the full off-road video with this. But I mean, this thing is incredibly capable off-road. You do have to take things at a slower pace because you've got to make sure that, okay, well, you don't hit the front bumper, you don't hit the back bumper. Speaking of that, I think we got a little bit hung up on the back wheel. Let's try that again. Yeah, the back tire got hung up. Come on. Let's switch the MTS. So I've got it in auto right now. Switch it to rock. Okay, and let's lock the center diff. I love how I'm talking up the vehicle and then it gets stuck. And it's not even like, it's not like I'm hung up on a rock or anything. It's because, come on, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it just couldn't get the tire over the rock. But yeah, you just have it in the right programming. You know, you lock the center diff. I'll keep it locked. It's amazing. This vehicle, just like Land Cruisers in the past, is a great daily driver, and it gets better fuel economy than the previous gen Land Cruiser. And it's also extremely capable. I mean, look at this side tilt. It's extremely capable off-road. It's comfortable while you're doing the off-roading. And it's got plenty of space if you get it without the third row. If you get the third row with the hybrid, you lose a lot of space. But without the third row, it's got plenty of space. It does turn it into a 5-seater, which I know that's a bit of a downside, right? That's one thing that I will say that the 200 series wins, and I don't know why Toyota Lexus changed this. The 200 series had the ability to take out the third row, so you could have a third row where you could take it out. So you had the ability to be a 3-row SUV or to be a very spacious 2-row. This, you really only have the ability to be a spacious 2-row. So that is one big downside with this newest generation compared to the previous gen. But yeah, just a lot of the systems, it's just better. It's just better in a lot of ways. I prefer taking this off-road compared to the 200. I prefer daily driving this compared to the 200. Like, there's so many things that I prefer with this over the 200 series. I still love the 200 series, and I still like the fact that the bumpers have better angles and all this other stuff. But they did such, I mean, look at this. These are big rocks for a vehicle with 33s. This is rough terrain. I'm not saying big rocks to climb over, but like to bump over and everything. Like, this is rough terrain. And this thing not only handles it, but it does so with luxury. This is one of the most comfortable, and that's the thing about Land Cruisers. They're comfortable off-road. This is one of the most comfortable off-roaders out there, period. So go and drive one of these if you have a chance. And it's just the Overtrail. I do not like any other package on the LX. And same thing with the GX. The only GX and the only LX that are worth looking at, in my opinion, Overtrail. Every other package is nonsense on both of those vehicles. So, let me know your thoughts. This week's giveaway is perfect for classic muscle car lovers because we have a Cuda and a Roadrunner. The Cuda produces 290 horsepower and has an automatic. The Roadrunner produces 390 horsepower and has a manual. Both of them are obviously powered by V8s. Now, this particular giveaway is going to be ending fairly soon on November 2nd. So if you want to get in now and get some extra bonus entries, just use code BHC or click the link in the description down below or the pinned comment. Any donation, $25 or more, will give you 4x bonus entries.